Some people describe it as that the universe just wants to give you whatever it is that you want, but you have to decide and you have to kind of throw it out there.
I don't mind them using my name, but my time is actually more valuable than my check.
Now put the money in, but only if you turn around and spend some portion of that money back with our fintech coaching, so that effectively I was getting a 2x valuation on my 1x money.
Yep. 100 people working on this problem right now. Why are you uniquely qualified?
Welcome to Money Mavericks, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of finance, investment, and entrepreneurship.
I'm Kirk Drake.
And I'm Darryl Hicks. Together, we're here to bring you the latest insights, expert opinions from the trailblazers who are redefining success in the financial world. This is another exciting episode of the Money Mavericks podcast.
In shorts.
Yeah, see, in shorts. We're
Everybody
all in
needs to know
shorts
that.
here.
We're all wearing shorts right now. It's awesome.
Because it's July in the Okanagan, and we were out surfing this morning on the boat, which was a great way to start the day. And now here we are to jam a little bit. I'm excited. You know, part of the reason why Kirk and I really wanted to come in and do this with you, Dan, we were talking about, Money Mavericks. We have this idea of all these people that just know really unique things about money. But one of my favorite things about you is I've always thought of you as being like the frameworks guy. I think you remember, like, even in my office, we'd have all our company values up on the wall, and we had a picture for each one of the values. We had like Seth Godin, we had Eric Ries, and I had you on one of them, on the message that we had to the team about the importance of documenting everything, creating playbooks, that, this is, a lot of things other people don't. You should be generous in sharing it. And to me, you were the poster child, not just of that generosity, but also you've just had this incredible gift, this ability to suss out, like everyone talks about success leaves clues, right? But for me, you're just an absolute genius at, well, first of all, voracious in your appetite of consuming all kinds of like best practices, but your ability to distill down, like, what was it about what they did that actually helped them to create success, right? And then taking it and turning it into a framework like A, B, C, and D can loosely lead to, N outcome. And I remember when you and I first met, I think the first time was like in 2014 or 2015.
I remember where I was sitting, the friggin' tablecloth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are you from?
Yeah. It was the first time I ever got kicked in the ass by someone who was facing me. You did this like weird thing where you wrapped your foot around. I was like, get out of here.
Yeah.
But you were hosting a round. It was hilarious.
I'm supple like a leopard, man. Just try to visualize what he just said, everybody.
Exactly.
Kick him in the butt, facing him.
Get out of here. You hosted a roundtable at that entrepreneurs event on angel investing. And it was one of the first times where I sat down. I felt like most of what I heard was Chinese when I sat down listening to you. But you clearly had distilled down some really great steps. And, fast forward 10 years later, I've done, a fair amount of angel investing myself now. And I keep thinking back actually to the notes that I took when we were sitting down on that. I love it. I think maybe that's as good a place to start as any. I'd love to kind of just hear your thoughts. I'm sure they've evolved over 10 years. In fact, I think you've kind of pulled away from angel investing a little bit. Isn't that true?
I still do. I just don't talk about it. I did 2 deals like in the last 3 weeks.
Ah, okay.
It's just changed. Yeah, because it's more of an asset allocation for me and less of a, artistic, relationship. I like you, you like me. Let's work together. Mm-hmm. Now it's legit just deal flow. I have somebody look at opportunities. They only present me the ones that make sense. And I'll have a meeting with the entrepreneur, and then I say yes, and I kind of forget until they announce it, and then they're like, Dan Martell is also an investor, and I was like, oh, we did that deal, good, okay. Because again, when I hand it over to lawyers, they know what I look for. It sometimes doesn't get done.
Right.
My philosophy, though, I think I can tell you how I messed it up. When I first started, coming from Moncton, New Brunswick, that's where Darryl and I are both from. I think any entrepreneur that's ever made any money, we start to, especially if you struggled for a while, two failed companies, finally made some money, saved everything, and thought, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it was like, okay, there's the entrepreneur and then there's the investor. I need this I quadrant. I need a little bit of that in my life. And because I had finally found success, I thought, ooh, now I think I have the recipe. All right, so anything I get involved in is just going to magically be winner, winner, chicken dinner. And funny enough, the first investment I ever did was with my brother in his company. He had a home building company, totally outside of software or tech or anything. And because of who he is, it actually went incredibly well. Not at first, but eventually did really well. I was like, okay, let's do more of this. And I probably lost close to $1 million in the next 2 years. So I can tell you what not to do. What not to do is think that your money, two things you're putting at risk, your money and your time, which are freaking the most valuable thing in the world, is going to equal success. And that's what I did. So I lost a lot of money, invested in entrepreneurs that, I mean, there's this one guy, he's like, oh yeah, I'm doing this dating site, blah, 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 blah. And I even knew, I was like, this sounds so stupid, but everybody was talking so highly of the entrepreneur. I got involved, and like 12 months later, he bankrupted the business, and I'm just like, well, that was dumb. And I knew better. That was the worst part. And then the other thing is I was writing different size checks. I moved to San Francisco, and I started angel investing there. And I right off the bat, everything shifted because I was like, whoa, the quality. Like, these are entrepreneurs that, like, okay, this other guy worked at Canadian Tire and decided to start this dating website, and he's not even technical. Oh, I'm going to give him my money. Two, here's a founding team, and there's 3 of them, and they're all engineers, and they're from Stanford. Well, okay, this is different. But where I got lucky is I met a guy named Naval Ravikant. So a lot of people know Naval now. Back then, he was literally not, well, he was known in the tech industry, but he wasn't, on Joe Rogan, that kind of stuff. And he's the one that gave me the advice, because I asked him. He was very prolific. He wasn't like the top angel investor. Angel investor was actually interesting because it was a newish term in early 2000. But essentially the philosophy was your own capital, and super angels was the term that was starting to come to be. People that had done 25 plus deal, I would say at the time, was a 2 super angel. And Naval was definitely one, and he's the one that gave me the advice. So a few things I look for. First, I'm always deploying capital over a 4-year time cycle. So I'm never trying to pick timing in a market. If I don't have enough capital to invest over a 4-year time window, then I don't do it, because then I'm trying to pick winners. That was the biggest thing Naval explained to me. He goes, if you think you can pick winners, you're crazy. Like, it's mathematically impossible. First principles, not possible. Okay, so then how do you essentially dollar cost average into your angel deals?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. This sounds a lot like DCA, dollar cost averaging,
yeah,
right?
and that's how he presented to me. He says, over a 4-year window, you're going to either catch the tail end or the beginning of another market cycle. And if you can do at least a dozen deals over that 4-year window, so that's about 3 a year, and still look, try to understand what your thesis is, try to figure out what it is about the people. He definitely said, like, double down on the people. He goes, most of the deals that I look at that won, when I made the investment, it wasn't the idea. And we hear this all the time, but like,
bet on the jockey, not the horse, right?
Dude, I used to bet on the horse. I'm like, oh, that's a great industry. That's a great market. Oh yeah, we'll disrupt that thing. But guess what? Without the jockey,
I found along the way there's a combination of 2 things. I'd only invest in things that my network and time could be a multiplier. So I started doing, okay, I'll put the money in, but only if you turn around and spend some portion of that money back with our fintech coaching, so that effectively I was getting a 2x valuation on my 1x money. Which then meant that whether they almost always I would at least get even money, which is not a great situation, but was certainly better. And the third piece was I going to learn something from watching them in the process?
Yeah,
right?
I definitely, that was the other thing that Naval recommended. He said, don't get involved in things that you personally don't have a problem around. Like I only invested in things where I had a problem, and it's just like, it was just serendipity. It's like, oh my gosh, I actually was running into that. I don't want to start that company. You're doing it. All things being equal, that was great. And then learning. So like, I started Clarity. I think that's what I was doing when we first met, which is a marketplace. But I learned about marketplaces as an investor in Udemy. And I would choose founding teams that when I met with, and that was my simple filter. When I sat down with them, did I learn something?
Yeah.
Right. And they didn't even know I was doing that, but I would be very curious. Like, how did you choose the market? How big do you think it is? Why do you think this is differentiated? Blah. And I was looking to the quality of their answers, and independent if I thought that thing was going to work. I was just looking, are these people that are incredibly passionate? Because like, I remember one time an investor asked me in my company, they go, why are you the person to solve this problem? And I just love that. Because like, why are you uniquely qualified? There's 100 people working on this problem right now. why are you uniquely qualified? So I remember when you told me about FlexPay, I mean, geez, Darryl, it's like, who else?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember when you asked me that question the first time. I kind of like this, the hair went up on the back of my neck a little bit, and I got equal parts nervous and equal parts excited. I'm like, well, all right, well, let's dive in and tell you about what I've been doing for the last 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So
I call it founder product fit.
right.
Yeah.
So
On Money Mavericks, we don't just talk about making money. We explore the innovative strategies and bold decisions that drive real change. Whether you're an experienced investor, a budding entrepreneur, or just someone looking to make smarter financial choices, we've got something for you.
Every week, we're going to sit down with industry leaders, visionaries, and mavericks who share their journeys, challenges, and breakthroughs, from contrarian views on market trends to the secrets behind building a successful startup. You get an inside look at what it takes to thrive in today's economy.
And we promise to keep it real, engaging, and most importantly, actionable. No jargon, no fluff. Just straightforward conversations that you can apply to your own financial journey.
So, get ready to challenge your thinking, expand your knowledge, and take control of your financial future. This is Money Mavericks,
where we turn financial dreams into realities and mavericks into legends.
Yeah.
So you got this idea of like DCA over a 4-year period, so that you're going to be capturing, the market cycle at various stages.
Same investment size. That was the other thing I was making. I was putting in $250,000. I was putting in 50Ks. I was putting 100Ks. So like my investment prior to that was all over, which Naval's like, well, then you're trying to choose winners.
Right.
So his philosophy was pick the same size check, cross those 12, and then always get pro rata and always re-up.
Always re-up.
Yeah, that's where the real money's going to be made.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So always re-up. So 12 checks over 4 years, not trying to pick winners, making sure that what you're investing into is something that you at least understand, a problem that you had before. I have a problem before. And then when you sit down with the founders, again, you're betting on the jockey, not the horse. But your lens was, is their founder product fit? Did I learn something new from these people that I didn't before? Even though I understand this problem, I understand this pain, I know a little bit about it, these guys clearly are domain experts.
Think about it this way. Even if I lose my money, am I better now for having these people in my life?
No, that's super cool.
That's like, I paid for an education, like a couple $1,000,000, but even if I never got any of that money back, that was a fast track way to be, because like, when you can talk to a founder whenever you need them to connect you, especially in an industry you don't know that well, the ROI of that, it's huge.
Yeah. I absolutely love it.
Opportunities
and kind of like on the other side, going much, much, much later, I know that you do a little bit on the PE side, like buying out firms completely. But I think you also have a very narrow lens. In fact, actually now I think the answer might be a little bit similar to the way that you're looking at angel investing, where it seems to me that you only buy SaaS businesses.
That was the other thing I stopped doing. I stopped investing in anything that wasn't in my world. So I only do software, and I only do B2B software. Okay. So Matt at Pila Case is one of the 2, maybe 3. I have another one. I have 3 direct to consumer investments because of the jockey. These are people that I've worked with or I've known for a while. They've exited. And this is the other philosophy, even just in angel investing. I don't want them to need my money. So I haven't put money into a company where they needed me to be involved or they weren't going to be able to get it done and be successful. So that's the other filter that I used to have when I was on the East Coast. They're like, man, we need you specifically with your background experience. If you did, and I'm like, nope, not doing that. I literally want to fight my way into deals now. I want the rounds to be well oversubscribed. It's a foregone conclusion, and then I'm coming in with my capital. And actually, Kirk, to your point about like your advice, I used to use that as a value add, but now I try to separate it. And that's why I don't even know some of the deals I do, because like I don't mind them using my name, but my time is actually more valuable than my check. So, I mean, I've done probably a dozen advisory only roles recently, and those, funny enough, those on paper seem to actually have worked out better.
That's
where I'm
really
doing
interesting.
equity only.
It's fun. I've got a bunch of those, and I mean the time horizon on those is so long.
Yeah.
Right. I find sometimes what they want out of you, for as an advisor, is so much. You're like, look, I'm happy to give you time, 5-10 times a year, but like you're going to Texas and you want me to like.
Oh no, they send you an email and they're like, "Here's our latest business plan. Read it and give me notes."
Yeah,
like,
no.
not doing that. Yeah, I think that I've just gotten really diligent on the. Darryl knows this. Like, here's what it means to be an advisor, and here's what does it. And I don't do advisory roles in companies that aren't going to raise capital, that aren't going to have liquidity.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're right. The time
Right.
horizons are sometimes
Forever.
never, because they're not in that kind of vehicle that's going to have that kind of.
Yeah, I think it's a great framework to have. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you taught me an incredible framework, which, with your permission, I've actually taught to many other groups. Like, I've done multiple YPO sessions teaching my fellow YPOers about this framework, but how to build an advisory board. You called it the A-team framework,
Yep.
which was phenomenal. And as I was filling out those experience buckets, which was such a great way to look at it, like, what are the 8 things, and I love the number 8, what are the 8 things that if you had these things in your business, it's not just possible that you're going to hit your 10X goal, it's a foregone conclusion that
is
it's
the
going to
key.
happen.
Yeah.
And then start thinking about who are the people that can fit those buckets. And in my case, when I built my advisory board, I wanted every single one of those experience buckets to be filled by people that were active in a role, not like professional board people or retired people, people that were active CEOs. All of their input and insights around that experience bucket was going to be fresh. And when I reached out to everybody, I was very fortunate to have like pretty much all yeses. In fact, I think it was all yeses across the board,
I
which
know
I'm grateful
on it,
for.
but your advisory board's pretty stacked.
It's insane.
Yeah.
However, the one criteria is every single one of them was like, don't expect me to show up at quarterly meetings. I'm not going to fly anywhere. I will always take your call. If you're calling me for this one thing, like your ask is so perfect. Yeah, of course I can do this thing. You want me on your advisory board for this, like how to create world-class culture, the technical competency, what's going on in the plumbing of the Visa and MasterCard network, best practices on scaling SaaS businesses, connections into credit unions. Yeah, of course, I'm the perfect guy for this, but just, I'll always take your call, but I'm not going to be in meetings. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I think that actually works for me. That's perfect. So now, and all my advisors know that when I'm calling them, it's for this one specific thing. Yeah. I'm not bombarding them all the time. They can provide maximum value for me in my exact problem at that time. So anyway.
What's the funniest thing I learned about angel investing that nobody told me? I wish they would have told me up front. Is that you spend most of your time with the worst companies.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it true? Ugh.
Oh, my gosh. I'm not sure I would have done the angel investing I did to the level I did had I learned that. I would have just had a higher filter. Because literally one of my best investments was Intercom, right? The chat Intercom support software. And Owen and the founding team, after I wrote them the check, I never heard from them. I was like, "Oh, what are we doing? You want to get together?" He's like, "We're good." And then 36 million raise, 100 million raise. I'm like, "Oh, geez, okay." And then there's the person that raised $250,000 I'm involved in, and it's like every week.
Well, I feel like it's the same with coaching. Your highest paid coaching clients never call you.
Yeah.
And when they do, they're ready to go. They
They're so
value your
good.
time.
They're easy
they know
to
what
work
you're doing.
with. Yeah.
And the guys who nickel and dime you on a deal, I don't want to pay full price. I want half off. They never like you the way they are. They're total pain in the butt. What's your? Do you have any added framework on co-founder versus founder-led angel things? Do you care?
Like if there's a co-founders?
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much I can't think of a company I invested in that didn't have co-founders, and my filter is very simple. Similar to I think why Combinator has this approach is if you can't convince one other human to join you on your crazy ride, we're going to have bigger issues.
Yeah, totally.
It's almost like a kind of like a EQ test. Like if you can't piece together sentences that gets another person convinced to join you in your...
We're never going anywhere.
Yeah, this is going to be a bigger issue than just...
That's our filter for fintechs that want to work with credit unions. If you don't already have a credit union and you've never raised any money, like
circle
call me back
when you do.
In 17 years when you figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I wanted to shift gears and talk a little bit. Obviously, you're prolific on social media with your commitment to fitness. But I remember years ago, you and I were hanging out and you came up with this expression that I've quoted so many times about belt buckles and bank accounts and how they're inversely correlated. And the thing that I really liked about that is that I do really believe that by and large, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And Kirk and I were riffing on this, and he's like, well, Warren Buffett wasn't very fit particularly, and he seems to have done really well from a bank account perspective. But I think the first principle hiding behind that is that the discipline that's required to be in world-class shape physically and fitness is the same discipline that's required in order to build something. So, okay, yeah, maybe you're not applying it to the fitness problem, but there is something about learning the discipline. And so I feel like it's another one of those chocolate broccoli things, right? Where it's like you're doing it to get fit because you want to be healthy, but actually the real benefit you're getting is the discipline that is going to be such a value add in every single area of your life. But I'd love you to maybe just unpack that a little bit, and then I got a follow-up question depending on where you decide you want to go.
Well, I mean, first off, Darryl, when you would have met me, would have been probably when I was pretty soft. I wasn't working out a lot. I actually remember that period of time because I just had my first son. Then Renee was pregnant with the second one. They're 11 months apart. So there was a period of 2 years where, lack of sleep. I always joke, like, if you just get to bed on time, that'll solve half your problems. Okay. So if you're not sleeping, it's hard to have any motivation or discipline. So I definitely hit a pretty big low, and then a realization that, hey, I don't have the energy to not only perform at work and also to be the kind of father I wanted to be. So that was probably 8 years ago when I decided to kind of be more intentional about my fitness. But the truth is that very quickly I started to see that's where the bank account and belt buckles came into play, is like, if I can just make a commitment that my bank account doesn't go down and my belt buckle doesn't get bigger, and even if all things being equal, like, that's just a good place to stay. Because what I noticed myself doing is I'd put on weight and then I'd lose it, and I put on weight and I'd lose it. So the effort of like losing it, I just thought, why don't I just, because I would get to a point and I could sustain the overweightness, but I'm like, why don't I just sustain a better way of living? So it was all this mental game for me. And then the bank account, just because the energy was there, then all of a sudden I had more time to just be more focused. And it's even confidence, right? So my whole thing is, I learned a long time ago, not be impressed with the 22-year-old that's jacked, because that person's got a lot of time on their hands and they're motivated for pretty good reasons, right? Reproduction. Let's just say that's
exactly
that's caused wars in this world, and it can get you fit. What I'm impressed with is the 40-some-year-old man that's got kids, that has put their fitness or their health as a forefront, and also, makes everything else a byproduct of it. And it turns out that, yes, the Warren Buffetts have done good on the bank accounts and not the belt buckle per se, but those are always the exceptions, not the norm. If you agree. If you just take the CEOs of the top, 100 companies in the world, I'm pretty sure we're going to see a pattern.
Well,
right?
even Buffett, like, he knows he likes his cherry Coke.
Yeah, he's probably Frosties, still in a caloric deficit, and that's all he has.
Right, like he stays very clear. He's like, I'm not going to go try Indian food.
And he doesn't have 4 of those.
Right.
He has,
there's still some discipline there. In some way.
And to me, what I've discovered since then is, we exhaust the body to tame the mind. So my mental capacity when I work out now, the physicality of it, and really it's just about doing hard things in the morning. So you can cold plunge, you can work out, you can, whatever you got to do to exhaust the body or to just do something hard, then sets the tone for the rest of the day.
100%.
And then the new level to me is the bicep vein. If you can have I know it sounds a little crazy, people are like, this is a money podcast. No, it could be. The bicep vein is the McLaren of the body, right? So like whether you like it or not, and you're a fan of cars, Darryl, when somebody shows up in a McLaren or Ferrari, whatever pick your brand, you're just like, okay, this is a serious person. I'm curious, like, who are they? So if you sit in a meeting with somebody you're about to do a business transaction with, and you can tell that they obviously take care of themselves, they prioritize that. What does that tell you? It tells you that they keep the commitments to themselves. It tells you that they're willing to do hard things. It tells you that they are able to understand the complexity of the human body and decipher and figure it out for them. Tells you they're OCD. I don't know. Like, there's a lot in good and bad.
Some of the most successful salespeople that I've ever run into were people that run multiple Ironmans and triathlons.
Dude, you've met Todd. If you haven't met Todd, he's here. I mean, that was when I was like, so what do you do? And he's like, oh, I've done Ironmans. I was like, cool. So there was 4 candidates for the role, run my company, and they were all great. But I was like, the guy that's willing to suffer and keep pushing, nobody knows. That's the kind of guy I want in my corner.
100%.
So, and that, I don't think people realize that the wins are made in the margins. And when you're sitting there and you're feeling confident because you've been consistent in your workout and you've eaten clean and you've got these text messages and replies to make, or you should reach out to this person. I'm going to New York. I really should get on that podcast. But the self-doubt, because it's all about quieting the noise. So what I've noticed is I used to have a lot of self-doubt around, I should message this person, or I'm talking to an investor, and then I like, well, who am I? And they've invested in these other people, and I'm not as successful as those people, or whatever. That goes away. And so on the back end of the belt buckle, so keeping the belt buckle down, the bank account rises just because of the way you show up. Why? Because you have a higher self-worth.
Yeah.
Right? You'll never get a penny more than you think you're worth. And when you start investing in your health and your fitness, you're telling yourself, I'm worth it. So then you start requesting and demanding of other people to hold a standard around you. So when you're negotiating a deal, you're not going to allow yourself to negotiate down because you're like, hey, I'm worth more than this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Money Mavericks. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to share this episode with someone who needs to hear it.
Stay connected with us on social media and visit our website for exclusive resources, episode transcripts, and more.
Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries, making smart moves, and turning your financial dreams into realities.
You've been listening to Money Mavericks, where Mavericks become legends.